Hi guys, welcome back to Irish Footy Vlogs. Welcome back to another Premier Division preview show. Feels like we haven't done one of these for a while, to be fair. We have a full calendar of fixtures this weekend, 4 on Friday, 1 on Saturday. As we speak, Shamrock Rovers actually playing UCD and they lead by a goal to nil as well. So JP will be checking that every 2 seconds, I'm sure. But we'll get into Friday night's fixtures first. And we're actually going to start off at Oriel Park where Dundalk take Drogheda United, take on Drogheda United in the Louth Derby. And this is an interesting fixture, as we know. Two big rivals, massive derby. Underrated in many ways, I think, as well. But, you know, Dundalk have been struggling of late. They were knocked out of the cup against Waterford. They are still unbeaten at home this season, guys, as well. I think that's one of the points. You know, they've been struggling, but still unbeaten at home. Drogheda have only won once away from home in the league this season as well, bear in mind. I know Drogheda got the upper hand the 2 games that head in the game earlier on the season, but they did lose fairly comfortably, it has to be said, Oriel against Dundalk. Interesting fixture. I suppose I'll start off with Luke for this one, being the Drogheda man in the room, so to speak. And look, Drogheda have had a couple of weeks off now, Luke. A couple of bad performances, I think it's fair to say, from a Drogheda perspective. But you'd wonder if the 2 weeks break might have done them good coming into this game.
Well, yeah, hopefully it has. Look, it's brilliant to be talking about a game, to be honest, because it's 2 weeks, but they do feel so long. Like, do you know what I mean? When your team isn't playing, like, you find yourself like, what are you doing with your Friday night? Like, but look, it's good that it's back and it's a Louth Derby as well. It's the game that excites you, really. Like, it's when you hear Drogheda Dundalk as a Drogheda fan, you just look forward to it whenever it is, and it's look, Oriel is such a tough place to go to, and yeah, like you said there, unbeaten at home this season is an incredible record, and like they have dropped off in the last couple of weeks, but I still think it's a very tough place to go to, and I still think Dundalk are still very tough to beat at home, and I still think in this game they will be tough to beat at home. I see a game that Drogheda just have to go into, and they need to put in a better performance, and I think they need to put up a better fight than they have in the last couple of weeks. But at the same time, in saying that, like, you know, I wouldn't question the heart of Drogheda, because, you know, the heart has always been there. It's always been there. You know what I mean? I think the Pats game, like before the 2 week off, well, not really 2 weeks off, but the 2 week sort of break, that game sort of gave Drogheda a bit of a look, you know what I mean? It wasn't a great performance that night, and, you know, Pats had it fairly comfortable considering they were down to 10 men, and considering that the tide was sort of going in Drogheda's way with them saving the penalty and that. So you know, Drogheda would have got confidence at the start of that game and that. So for Pats then to get 2 goals, and I think that would have really hurt Drogheda. But going into this one now, look, it's a Louth Derby. You've got to get yourself up for it, and, you know, I've no doubt that they will get themselves up for it, like they have. And every time they played Dundalk this season, look, that game was in Oriel was poor, because I think the way we conceded some of the goals and the manner weren't great. I don't think, you know, if you defend a little bit better for at least 2 of them goals in the 4-1 loss, then, you know, you're looking at probably a different scoreline, and that. So yeah, there was Drogheta's defence that night wasn't great. But look, it's an exciting one. Always a good crowd brought by the Drogheda fans. You know, Dundalk always fairly do well with their crowds as well. They always get themselves usually up for this one, so it is a good occasion. But I think records as well. You mentioned that unbeaten record at home. It's there to be broken, and I think it'd be a pretty good story if we were the ones to break it, to be honest.
Yeah, certainly would, wouldn't it? JP, in reality, this is a massive game for Dundalk, and a lot of Dundalk fans will feel like they must win this game, won't they? Because obviously, we'll talk about that later. Derry, Pats playing each other. They'll feel someone has to drop points there, if not both teams. You know what I mean? So it really is a big game for Dundalk, and you'd like to think from their point of view that they need to come out firing in this game as well, and just make sure to get the 3 points.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the last proper win that they had was against Wexford after extra time in the cup. So that's a pretty I think that was 4 or 5 games ago. They were awarded them 3 points against Sligo, and rightly so. Like, Sligo played the suspended player, so you can't fault Dundalk for that. And in hindsight, that same 3 points, it's keeping them in third place at the minute. And as you say, the 2 teams either side of them They're playing one on Friday, so it's a huge game for them. They either open a gap or close a gap at the same time because they have dropped off over the last few weeks, and Derry have put together a fantastic run. They sort of get ahead of Dundalk and maintain a bit of a challenge with Rovers. So for Dundalk, huge game, and as Luke touched on there, they're unbeaten at home this year. We came mighty close to ending that back in August, and it's got to end at some stage. And I think Drogheda fans would absolutely love it if they were the team to do it. So do.
Yeah, I think they look to get Pat Hooban back because Hooban, we talk about the defensive woes and that still exists, but Pat Hooban, such a big loss. He's one of those players at this stage, JP, that we a lot of people anyway, they kind of forget about and take him for granted a little bit, but he's such an important player, isn't he, in what he does for Dundalk?
Yeah, he's a seasoned player. Like, he's a seasoned pro. He's been here and done it for the last 10 years, whether it's here in Ireland or across in England. He's had more success here, obviously.
Yeah.
Like, I've watched him a few times this year against Derry, and he's literally done nothing for 90 minutes, and he's popped up with a winning goal in the Brandywell, and then he's come up with a last minute equaliser in Oriel Park. So that's what he gives you. He gives you that never say die attitude. I think he's the captain this year up there as well. So he's really pushing that team, and I know he's been out for quite a few weeks, and when you've got him up front, you're always in with a chance. But for Dundalk, they're conceding a lot of goals, and they're conceding a lot of chances. And I know Stephen O'Donnell had out at the press last week for highlighting it, but it's the reality. They're creating the chances because of the high line. Like Wexford, if Wexford had a better striker, no disrespect to the strikers they had, Wexford would have put them in the cup before Waterford did. So and look, and Drogheda have a better forward line than what Wexford do, and possibly what Waterford do. So look, if Dundalk are not on it, then Drogheda will cause them problems. But we know in this game it's as big a game for Dundalk fans as it is Drogheda fans, and we all know that the shed will be really up for this, and they'll create as much noise as what the Drogheda fans did at United Park or Head in the Game Park, earlier in the season.
Yeah, I think, Luke, to be fair, I think Drogheda are the type of team that a couple of bad performances and sometimes it gets them into gear a little bit as well. We've seen that a couple of times this season. The fact that they had the break, I do think it probably will refocus the mind. And I do think that Dundalk are going to come up against a tougher Drogheda that we've seen in the last number of weeks, which makes this one very interesting, I think.
Yeah, hopefully. Look, you've made a good point there. I think we have like when we've gotten a few bad results or a few bad performances, usually we do bounce back. Usually, like, we like to do that at home. And look, I don't think our away record this season is really good at all, to be honest, which is disappointing because last season we got a good few results away from home, which was some really good results. Like, we got a result in Oriel Park, where we got a win last season, wins up in Sligo. Decent results like up in Derry and that, you know what I mean? So we got good results last season away, and this season it just doesn't seem to be the same away from home. Saying that our home record is very good, like of course, which kind of has us in the position where we are, of course. But look, look, you get excited for it. It's a game you get up for. Anytime you play against your local rivals, you do get up for it. Two sets of fans who are really, really good as well, and who get behind their team. And I'd never like going to Oriel Park. It's the one ground I just don't like going to, because it is just such a tough place to go to. Dundalk make it so difficult for you there. But look, I'm really, really hoping that Drogheda can catch Dundalk out, especially with this sort of high line that we've mentioned. The likes of Dale Rooney will get his pace in behind, Dean Williams get him in behind. I'd be interested to see what sort of way the Drogheda management team sort of approach this one. Will they go for it? Will they hold off and catch Dundalk? But I can see them going for it, to be honest. I can see Drogheda going for this game, and they'll feel confidence. But I would love to see us break that record, to be honest.
Score prediction, Luke?
I'll go 1-1. I'll go 1-1.
JP?
I was just going to say there, but as much as we've mentioned there, the missing Hoban up at the top end, they're probably missing Conley just as much, because I don't think they were creating the chances. They were conceding the chances that they were conceding as what they have done over the last 6-7 weeks. But score prediction, I think Drogheda will get something from this. I'm going to say 1-1 as well.
Really, I think.
But just even
yeah.
Sorry, just to cut in there, just on Mark Connolly, like even I've watched Derry now the last couple of weeks and the last few games, and like they're just such a different team at the back with them. Do you know what I mean? Like Derry, you know, in the middle of that middle half of the season when they didn't have Connolly, were coughing up chances. They were giving away stupid penalties and stupid things like that. So like, you know, you can see Derry even have a bit more solidity to them now because of the likes of Mark Connolly, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Dundalk might just do enough against what will be a very spirited Drogheda performance, to be honest, but I think it'd be tight. 2-1. A draw wouldn't surprise me, by the way, but I got 2-1 Dundalk, I think. Finn Harps and Shelbourne. 2 of Finn Harps wins this season have come against Shelbourne. I think we've mentioned that up 10 times, but an interesting one this, because I watched Finn Harps the other day. I watched an LOI TV against Bows, and they should have been 2 up at half time easily. Bows were as poor as they were against Shelbourne, to be honest with you. They coughed up so many good opportunities. Harps didn't take them. Goal down, concede a very poor goal, actually. And their heads completely dropped. And the same stuff kind of came into their play again. Lost the discipline completely again. I seen a statistic the other day where they've 26, never mind the red cards for a minute, 26 more yellows than the next team. That's incredible. That's incredible. Like that just like you can talk about this, that, and the other, but that's I can't even fathom that.
That comes from the side. That comes from the sideline too, though, Keith.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, Gavin Dykes was sent off in this game as well, late on.
Molly Horgan's getting yellow cards and red cards on most occasions too. Like so, like I'm a firm believer that the discipline on the field comes from the sidelines as well. And if you have a backroom team that's giving it mouthy on the pitch,
it can be at any ages as well.
Yeah, it's not just senior level. You're 100% right. Look, it's not just senior level, like, but that's where the coaches and the management has to step in there and say, right, lads, we need to get our discipline here. But if what we saw with Horgan, he's passionate. Gavin Dykes is the same, and if they're going to try and tell the players to watch their discipline, then the players are going to look at them and say, well, you need to watch your discipline too. So it doesn't help.
And I think also comes from there's no leaders on the field. So like some of the leaders they might have had the last number of years as well might be able to toe them in line a little, but that doesn't seem to be happening. But you know, it's a difficult one because Shelbourne obviously technically have nothing to play for, but I watched against Shamrock Rovers and they did work very hard. They didn't play like a team that had nothing to play for. So it might depend what Shelbourne turn up, but you know, I just think from Finn Harp's point of view, obviously games are running out, and these home games are ones, Bows are home shells at this point of the season where you target to get points in. If they come away from no points on Friday again, you're kind of going, they're in trouble. We know they're in big trouble, but you really are going there in trouble. And it's a difficult one for them. McWoods is one of their shining lights, I have to say, though. I thought he worked very hard against Bows. He looked excellent. Anything good he was involved in. McNamee is still doing bits and pieces of good play, to be fair, as well in the middle of the park. After that, though, it's a difficult one for them because they just don't look like a good side. I'll be honest about that. They don't look like a good side, and their heads drop, as I say, very easily in a combination with that. But with Shelbourne, you know, it's hard to know what kind of state of mind they'll be coming into this game, Luke.
Well, look, I think they're going to have one eye in the next couple of weeks on that Waterford game. It's such an important game for their season because I think we've echoed so many times like they're one game away, they're 90 minutes away from the Aviva, and I don't really look. I think we thought they'd be dark horses, but I never really thought they'd probably get to the final. So look, they're in a good position. So yeah, they'll be confident going into that one, but they'll have one eye on that. But yeah, look, I think that it's if they can win here now against Finn Harps, they'll be happy with that because it's the whole thing of they'll want to pull away from Drogheda, of course, you know what I mean, and they'll want to sort of not be. They don't want to. I don't think they'll want to finish 8th, to be honest. Like if they finished 8th, look, I still think if they finish 8th and still got to a cup final, it'd still be a good season. But I don't really think they're an 8th they'd be too pleased with 8th.
Duff will probably try and motivate them to try and get up to 6th, to be honest with you. 5 points off Bows with a game in hand.
Could easily be caught. Bowes could easily be caught. Like, let's be honest here, Bowes could definitely be caught. So yeah, they could definitely, if they could get a run of games, they'll definitely catch Bowes. But yeah, you mentioned there about Finn Harps as well, which you have to mention as well. And I know you got a bit of people onto you because of, you know, questioning Finn Harps' work rate and do they give up? And yes, they do. It's simple. They do. Do you know what I mean? Like, how can you, as a Finn Harps fan, watch that and say, they didn't give up, but, you know, like,
well, they stopped doing what they were doing well against Bowes when they conceded the goal.
Yeah, the heads just dropped. It's you see it at like an under 12s, you know what I mean? Where, you know, they concede a goal and the heads drop. That's exactly what it's like watching. And it's just they give up then. And yeah, discipline is a big issue as well. But yeah, look, I think if Finn Harps had have kept probing at what they were doing in that game, because they were playing well. You know, they were creating chances. I think if they had a real out and out striker like they did last season, I think they probably would have got at least 1 or 2 goals there on the other day. So they'll be very disappointed with their finishing in the game. It was actually really, really poor. Like, I think we were actually just, it's nearly like you're like, how have you not scored yet? Do you know what I mean? And as the game slowly went on, I kind of felt like Bowes would score. And look, Bowes were by no means any good in the game, but you know, they were clinical. And it's a win, so that they'll be pleased with the win and the side of them being clinical. But their overall performance in the game was really poor, and I think a better team on the night, on the afternoon, would have beaten them.
You've seen this game on Friday, JP?
As you touched on, it depends what Shelbourne show up like, isn't it? Because if we get the dogged Shelbourne that we've seen most of the season, I think there's only one winner in this game, to be honest, because as Luke touched on there, they do give up. There's no beating around the bush. They do give up. Like we touched on it, Keith, even before it was when they played Pats, and Pats were 2 up, and Finn Harps got a quick goal back inside the 25th minute or something. And me and you spoke about this before we even done the review show about the lack of celebration or acknowledgement that they were back in the game. And now that was with almost 70 minutes left of the game to play. And like we see now, if they don't get the first goal, they don't care, basically. As simple as that. And I apologize if the first Hearts players watching this and they feel it's a bit strong, but it just from a neutral looking out, from a neutral looking in, that's all you can see is players giving up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and
even the red card the other day, Ryan Rainey, I've seen that as a given up red card as well.
Yeah.
He picked up a yellow.
That's where maybe that's where a lot of their yellow cards are coming from as well. It's because they just they got a red card against Pats as well, and I felt that was a lazy red card.
Yeah.
And like Shelbourne will be scratching their heads and wondering how they've lost 2 games to Finn Harps this season. But and I know you said there, Shelbourne, when it comes to league, they've nothing to play for. But at the same time, they'll be looking and saying, right, last week they looked at Rovers saying, right, well, Derry are still in with a shout for the league. We have to try and get something for that. This week now they're playing Finn Harps and they're thinking, right, well, we have to try and play and get points and try and affect the relegation battle, because although it might not matter in terms of your own season, you can affect somebody else's season. So it's really hard one to call, because as you say, we don't know what Shelbourne we're going to get or what Finn Harps we're going to get. And I think if Shelbourne get the first goal in this game, that's it. It's Shelbourne will win the game. If Finn Harps get the first goal, they might get something out of it. But I'm going to say Shelbourne to win it. But as I say, it's a hard one to call because we don't know what team of Eiler that we're going to get.
Luke, what's your prediction?
2-0 Shelbourne.
I think Shelbourne might win it as well, to be honest. 1-0, so that's a full house there. Bohemians take on UCD at Dalymount Park, and obviously it's been a tough, I was going to say few weeks for Bohs, probably longer, to be honest, certainly on the pitch in terms of that. I mean, there was no Bohs fans really up in Finn Harps either for that game, and as I said, and I do stand by it, particularly the first half until they scored, there was pours they were at Tolka Park and Shelbourne, if I'm completely honest about it. A couple of players, 4 players were apparently injured for the game as well, but I don't know about that one. But from the game against Shelbourne, but I don't know if they were left out really and it was a bit saving face or what. But they obviously take on UCD, and They did get the win, I suppose, the other day, so they'll be happy with that, and Penner will be happy with that. Played a couple of young players. Young Dorns came in, Lovetta came in as well, and Lovetta done quite well when he came on. So I think that's the thing with Bowes. I think if Penner feels like from now to the end of the season that a couple of players aren't giving it their all, just drop them, particularly when they've nothing to play for. Drop them, don't play them. Play some of these young players and give them a chance, because we all know Bowes generally develop the young players, and they probably will have a bit of urgency about them, like coming into the team and that. So that's probably the way to go for Bowes. And coming against the UCD side, obviously they're playing tonight, still 1-0 down with 15 minutes to go, so it's not over yet in this one.
No.
That obviously are battling with Finn Harps, and a lot of people would say they expect Bowes to win this match, but I don't know, you wouldn't be sure, would you, JP?
You wouldn't be. Like, I watched both these teams a few weeks ago, back to back on the Brandywell, and UCD gave us a better game than what Bowes gave us. They were more. I know Derry were very poor that night, but especially for the first hour. But UCD were very threatening, and if you give them a sniff, they will punish you. And I think, like, I never seen none of the Finn Harps game at the weekend against Bowes, but from listening to you guys, from the chances that Bowes coughed up the Finn Harps, if you cough them up to UCD this week, UCD will take them.
Oh, definitely.
They have that firepower. We spoke throughout the season about how they were going to replace Liam Carrick and Colin Whelan, but they've done Duffy there, and a couple of other guys now who have stepped up to the plate, and they're really putting up the fight here. They're not giving up the ghost here in the battle for relegation, and it's like, I can really see UCD getting something from this game. And you touched on there, Derek Pender maybe dropping players that just don't seem to want to care, and that's the predicament that Bowes are in at the minute, and Derek Pender, because them players are playing for a manager that they don't know if he's going to be their manager next year. But at the same time, you would probably think that whoever's going to be the new manager would probably get an insight to Derek Pender of the characteristics, the type of players that they have, and whether they're up.
Pender's nothing to lose by just playing a number of young players that he knows might be honest.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes that's the times that you get the results, when you put the players in that are prepared to put in the work with.
Yeah.
And like, you get a 17, 18-year-old getting on the starting lineup, his adrenaline's off the scale there. He's going to be running and running and running all night, and potentially be the best player in the pitch. So, like, as you say, he's got nothing to lose, and the players that are there grinded out a 1-0 win against Shamrock Rovers a few weeks ago. Well, where's that performance? Where has that performance been over the last few weeks?
Yeah, in fairness, that's one of the things the Bowes fans are complaining about as well. It's kind of typical them when they play Rovers or something. But Luke, how are you seeing UCD? They're still 1 down in this game, so they're still in it. But Tommy Lonergan, for example, is away in international duty at the moment. I would like to think he'd be back on Friday. I'm not sure when the next 19th game is, but obviously the difference with them, I think, at the moment, and Finn Harps, if you want to do a bit of contrast, I think there's a bit more fight in the UCD side, to be honest with you. I mean, for example, in this game, they're 1-0 down the Rovers, but we're in Harps 4-0 down the Rovers a couple of weeks ago at half time. So, you know what I mean? There is a bit more in the UCD team here, to be fair. And, also, I think they have a bit more punch about them in the attacking areas, Luke.
Yeah, I think so. I actually think there's just a bit more quality as well in the UCD team than Anton. I think there is a bit more quality in that UCD team than there is in the Finn Harps team. And look, I've pretty much digged Finn Harps out here tonight on this show, but
I don't think it's digging out. It's just being. I don't think it's digging out. It's just being honest. Like, I mean,
it is being honest.
You want to give them praise. I gave them plenty of praise last season, so you have to be honest. Yeah.
Oh, of course. Look, and it's not. You know what I mean? There is a lot wrong, like, you know what I mean? And look, I've nothing against Finn Harps. I think Finn Harps are a good club. Do you know what I mean? I've always liked the way they've done things. I like the way they're gonna go with their stadium and all. But at the minute, they're just there. They look like they need a complete clear out at the minute. Finn Harps, and I think we said that a couple of weeks ago. But look, I know we're not talking about Finn Harps here, anyways. But UCD, look, UCD, they do seem to have that bit of quality that maybe Finn Harps don't. They seem to have that, as you said, someone like Lonergan, someone like Duffy. the lads in the midfield. You know what I mean? The likes of
like Sean Brennan and Evan Caffrey and players
Sean
like
Brennan,
that. Like, you know,
Caffrey.
Sam Todd at the back, who's actually a loss to Harps.
Yeah, the keeper as well. He's Healy. He's not bad. You know what I mean? He's got a bit. He's a bit more reliable as well. Then look, I know your man's not done bad there. McKeown, since he's gone in at Finn Harps. But if you are drawing, you know what I mean, comparisons, you know what I mean, you could probably be a bit more dependent on someone like Healy, who's a bit younger and that. You know what I mean? But yeah, look, it's gonna be a tough game, obviously, for UCD because it's Dalymount. You know, the crowd are gonna be probably behind Bows unless they go 1-0 down, then they'll probably turn on them, to be honest, because if they do go 1-0 down now, I would worry for Bows, because you know if UCD get a sniff of a goal, then they will take it. Like, you know what I mean? They do have quality. So if they do get a sniff, like I think they could easily take a goal or even two. So Bows have got to be wary of that. But just at the minute, defensively, Bows are coughing up a lot of chances. The way the goals were scored against Shells that day, I think Moylan's goal, you walk through them. You know, the second goal is a ball into the box. You know, keeper, goal, centre half. You know what I mean? No communication there. Both missed it. End up Boyd.
And even in the Harps game, I think a team with better quality on the day is going in at half time, maybe 2-0 up there. So,
oh yeah,
you know,
pretty similar to the way Shells played. I think Finn Harps would have done their homework that night against. They would have seen where Bows were weak, and I think UCD will do the same. And I actually genuinely think that UCD could get something from this game. I think it's going to be a draw, but UCD could easily win this game. I think if UCD win this game, then like it's curtains for Finn Harps, to be honest.
Did you give a prediction, JP?
No, I didn't. But just going back there, you were comparing UCD to Finn Harps. One thing UCD also have is they've got pace and attack, and when they turn the ball over, they move it quick. It's literally move it quick, and everybody rushes forward, and they don't even need a sniff of a chance. They're not afraid to have a shot from distance as well. Like I saw, it was can't mind the guy's name. Might have been Brennan or something. Just out of absolutely nothing against Derry, nearly caught Brian Maher out with a right.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So they're not afraid to mix it up either. And when they get the ball, they turn it over and they go quick. And I think I'm going to put my neck in the line here and say 2-0 UCD. I'm going to go for UCD 1 for this one. Could be completely, but I'm going to go UCD 2-0.
Yeah, I'm going to go UCD 1-0, actually. I think they'll win as well. I think they'll at least get a point, to be honest with you.
Should I go Bowls then? At least one of us might be.
Bowls are definitely winning now, aren't they?
Yeah.
You know, but I suppose on to definitely the biggest game of the weekend. And the big game, St. Patrick's Leg, Derry City at Richmond Park. And there's still 1-0 in this Rovers UCD game with 7 minutes to go. But it's a massive game. I mean, both teams have won 5 in a row in the league. Derry have kept 5 clean sheets in a row in the league. Two teams that are on really good form, that look like they've a lot of cohesion. They're going well. Massive game, as I said. Important that for Pats that they try and win to keep up maybe with Dundalk, save Dundalk were to be Drogheda. And from Derry, they're still in touching distance now with Shamrock Rovers, to be fair. And if Shamrock Rovers do have a little bit of a wobble, so to speak, Derry want to be there to try and take advantage of that. Like, this was 4-0 at Richmond Park earlier on the season. I'd nearly put my house on that not happening again, to be fair, because that was 4-0 and it was 7-0 in reality, to be honest. That much of a gap. But Derry are probably playing as well as they did in that time. The difference is Pats are better than they were at that time as well. And obviously Joe Redmond has been playing with the under-21, so hopefully he'll come through that and be available for Friday. But it's a game, if I was at a neutral, I find it a bit mouth-watering, to be honest with you. The way the teams are playing, the positions they're in, there mightn't be a lot of goals in it, but it could be a really good game type thing. Technically, you look at it from Derry and you say a draw at Richmond Park isn't a bad result. However, if they want to finish out of Rovers, they probably kind of have to win. And for Pats, same thing nearly. A draw probably isn't a bad result. But again, if Dundalk were to win, the context is bad for them. You know what I mean? So I suppose I have to start off with JP here. And I don't know what to think of this match, really. I'd probably go for a draw in my head off the bat. But your thoughts overall in the game?
Just basically everything you said. Like, it's at the minute they're going to go in the game 5 points behind Rovers, because they're 1-0 up at the minute against UCD. But I think from here on in now, Derry are going to be playing first, aren't they? Like, I think near enough between now and the end of the season,
definitely
playing first. So Derry are always going to have that chance to put the pressure on Rovers. And this is going to be one of it, and they've got to take it. Like, I know at the start of, if you said to me now, at the start of the season you would take second, but yes, we would. But we're in this position now where we can put a challenge in. Look, if we don't win it this year, no big deal. The main thing this year was they put down the marker and say, look, we're coming, we're ready. But we can't think like that at this moment in time. We have to be thinking we want to catch them. They're playing Europe. They're going to be playing 3 games a week now for the rest of the season. We have to try and put them under a wee bit of pressure. And they're going to the showgrounds on Saturday, or is it Saturday? Yeah,
Saturday, yeah.
And that's not going to be an easy fixture, as we know. So this is a big chance for Derry to put down a marker. As you say, St. Pat's, they've dropped. They were in third, but they dropped out because obviously Dundalk got the awarded one. But they'll want to stay in touch with Pat or Dundalk as well, and they'll be looking at that game against Drogheda, and the Pats are probably thinking they're going to be going on there thinking, right, well, that's 3 points for Dundalk. They'll be thinking with probably that mindset, you know what I mean?
You have to have that mindset. Yeah, you're right.
They have to have that mindset. So they'll be going out, obviously, try and win the game themselves and whatever. But I think Derry, as you say, are probably back to what they were back then. But as you say, Pats have got better because if Derry beat them 4-0 in Richmond Park, and then 10 days later it finished 0-0 in the Brandywell. So within the space of 10 days, Pats managed they close the gap. So not close the gap, but stop the same kind of mistakes that they were making. And very intriguing game, but one that I'm looking forward to watching.
Luke, how are you seeing it as a neutral?
Oh, it's an exciting game, isn't it? Like it's one is like if you're a fan, you not dread, but you be nervous. Like I'd be probably hiding in the ground somewhere if I was a fan of one of the other clubs.
I think if you're Derry, you'd be a little bit more nervous. I don't know why that is, but I don't know. I just feel that.
I think Derry as well. Look, I know the last time they went to Richmond, obviously there's a different Pat side, and you know you can argue Derry are probably in as good form or even better. You know what I mean? The last couple of weeks they've been really, really good, and that night against Rovers in the cup was just. It was a pleasure to watch Derry, to be honest, and that's probably one of the like obviously you could say that a good few times this season for Derry, but that was probably the best Derry performance I've probably seen, apart from obviously that night in Pats when you corrected me last time. But you were right, to be honest, because that was obviously unbelievable. But watching that
was probably the best individual performance I've seen of any team this season, by the way, if I'm honest, from my personal
you could probably argue
games I've seen.
Yeah, you could definitely you could probably say that's true, but as well you could probably say that it's probably one of the best performances away from home from any team in the league and in the last couple of years. Like, you know what I mean? It was just perfect. Like, you know what I mean? It couldn't have went better. Actually, the only team
they could have won 7-0, to be honest.
7-0, yeah, exactly. They could have easily.
They weren't clinical.
No,
that's right. Yeah, remember that. Yeah, it was harshly given. Yeah, or not given. Sorry.
But look, Pats as well. Look, they're a different team at the minute, and Joe Redmond as well. Genuinely, I got to mention him. He's just. I watched him there the other night for the 21s. Like, just so composed, so calm, so
has he
good.
Got the credit. I know I mention him sometimes, but overall, has he got the credit?
I think he's gone under the radar for. Obviously, he's not going to go under the radar for Pats fans, but I think he's gone under the radar for everyone else because, like, you know, not for me anyways. I've seen when he came in with Drogheda, and it was that first game against Shamrock Rovers. I think you were at that game, Keith. It was his first game. He hadn't played a professional game, and I think it was his professional debut. I don't think he'd played a minute of football in a couple of months. He was just left Birmingham. You know what I mean. So he was sort of thrown straight into the deep end with Drogheda, and he swam, like, do you know what I mean? He was unbelievable. He was really, really good, and then obviously got his move to Pats, and since then he's just, you know, been unbelievable. And again, call up to the 21s, starts the game, which I didn't think he would, which was brilliant to see. Surprised by that one, and it's brilliant to see. He's just an excellent player, like, and yeah, I even noticed that when the couple of months he was with Drogheda, like, just a bit of class about him, and yeah, like he's unbelievable. So yeah, he's definitely gone under the radar, but hopefully he's back anyways for Pats, because I'm sure JP's hoping anyways, but he's a big player for Pats, and probably Pats player of the year, Keith, to be honest. Probably, but look, big game for Pats and big game for Derry, so it's an exciting one, definitely an intriguing game.
If Derry can win against Pats at Richmond on Friday, I think it's another little statement. And you talked about how they may not win the league, but even so, these little results are putting in little statements. Like, and one of the players I was thinking of that's been key recently, and like it's not. I know it's obvious, but that doesn't mean you don't talk about it. It is Michael Duffy, like, and I suppose from Pat's point of view, they'll probably look at that and go, look, if we can keep Duffy relatively quiet, and then you've got that midfield battle as well, which is really intriguing.
Yeah, like you talk here, like a win here on Friday night. We'll put down another wee statement, but I think the biggest statement came in the cup last week.
Oh, absolutely.
So came in the cup last week. Like Derry game shouldn't even have went the extra time. Like, but the main thing was Derry put down a statement to say we're ready for you. We're ready. We might not pip you this year, but we're ready to go toe to toe with you next year. And I think I don't see a team who went 7 matches without a win in the middle part of the season going on to win the league. But it'll make the group stronger for next year. I think that's what it may do. But look, if Derry can get it down to Tala, which is the second last week of the season, if Derry can get it to that game and the title race very much on, then they will have done well. In my point of view. But Derry because as I mentioned earlier, Derry has the first game now from here on in, so they have to lay down wee markers and try and put bits of doubt on the Shamrock Rovers' mind, and because this is a team that's in the top 4, that's likely to finish in the top 4, but possibly top 3, it will be a big result for Derry, and may hopefully put a wee bit of doubt on the Rovers' mind for their game against Sligo.
Yeah, I suppose, Luke, on the other hand, actually, if Pats were to beat Derry, is that the end?
Yeah, I think so. Like, I think that would really. I think I think Derry would be disappointed. I think they'd be, after the hard work of. Well, look, obviously they've had a tough. That sort of middle of the part of the season where they lost a couple of games and that, and you think a lot of ifs and buts. If Derry even had got 2 of them results that didn't go their way, then you'd be looking at a completely different scenario. Even going into this game, but look, that's the way football goes. And if Derry could even manage if Derry won the league I'd still be very, very surprised. But it would just be an unbelievable thing. Like, you know what I mean?
Sorry for cutting across here. Derry have actually lost less games than Shamrock Rovers. Rovers lost 5, Derry lost 4. It's a draws call that's absolutely killed Derry, because Derry's on 10.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, exactly. He's right, and it's that them points that the results. I think they've had 3 draws against Drogheda, is it?
Yeah, 3 against Drogheda, 1 against Harps.
Couple against Dundalk.
Yeah, 2 draws and a defeat to Dundalk. So it's
actually,
and a defeat to Sligo.
It's them things that they'd want to be picking up, you know what I mean? Which they would have been disappointed about at that time. But look, they've rallied together, you know what I mean? They've added that Mark Connolly, which I think is a bit of a difference for them. They've seemed to got Duffy back fit, who's looking really good. Obviously, you've got the likes of Patchen still there doing really well. McGonigal obviously got on the score sheet against Shamrock Rovers, which was his first goal in a couple of in a while, and that was brilliant to see
15.
for him.
Oliver Bonsell. No, the commentator got that.
Sorry,
wrong.
in the league, is it not in the league though?
Yeah, but it was 15 games in the league, but the commentator in the Rovers game had said it was a 15 game.
Yeah,
he scored in between against Oliver Bonsell.
Yeah, exactly. So look, it's a really, really intriguing game. You'd wonder, if Pats get a win here, I think they'll push on. Then, you know what I mean. I really do think Pats will push on if they can win here. But I think they just got to win it. You know what I mean? And it will be tough. They might have to suffer in the game and that. But Pats have the quality as well. So it's 2 teams who are going to really go for it. Pats, obviously, you've got to be careful of that sort of attack that they have, the midfield. I think the game will be won or lost in the midfield. That midfield battle. If Pats can get an upper hand early on in that midfield battle, then Pats could win the game. But it's you could say the same about Derry. So it is a very, very intriguing game.
I can't look past the draw. I really can't. I'll tell you one thing I am looking forward to, those Forrester and McElhenney, two of my favourite midfield players in the league as well. But I can't look past the draw. JP, how are you seeing it?
Yeah, it'll be interesting because if you saw against Rovers, McElhenney actually played wide right. And Rory Higgins told RT before the game that it was a tactical switch. So whether he goes back to playing great and wide right and get McElhenney back into midfield, it'll be interesting to see. Again, as the same as you, Keith, it's a hard one to call. But my head's telling me a draw, my heart's telling me a Derry win. But I'm gonna say Derry just.
Luke?
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I think Derry might nick it.
I'm changing my mind. 6-0 to Pats. On to Saturday. On to Saturday, and Sligo Rovers take on Shamrock Rovers, and a lot of Sligo fans might call this the Rovers Derby, some may not. But it's look. I mean, I've just watched Rovers there beating UCD 1-0, and look, they got the job done. They still look a bit off and leggy, in my opinion, but they are 5 clear. Sligo. This has been a strange season there for Sligo. They're actually 10 points behind Pats, and there's one position between them in the table, so it's really faded for them. And I think the points that they threw away really against Dundalk has really killed them as well. But they are a threat though. They are a threat though, and they're a funny team. They really are Jekyll and Hyde. They're the most Jekyll and Hyde team in the league. They're very hard to figure out because they can come out and do what we've said it before, Motherwell, and then not beat UCD all season type job. So they're very difficult to judge, but you feel that if they're on it, they could give Shamrock Rovers a very difficult game here because Keane has been the best striker in the league all season. So that's one thing they have. Someone that's not only the best striker in terms of goals, I'd argue in terms of all-round play. He's been the best forward in the league. And Shamrock Rovers, they'll be looking at this game, trying to get a result. Obviously, the result on Friday might dictate a lot, as we said before, but I don't know. I'll start with Luke at this one. How are you seeing this one, Luke?
Yeah. I think Sligo have an opportunity here to,
It would be them to win this game, though, wouldn't it?
No, it would be. But I think they have an opportunity to, obviously they're not going to do it themselves in the league, but I feel like they have an opportunity here now to cause a bit of an upset in the sort of that title race. You know what I mean? I think they've got an opportunity to, spoil Rovers' record of trying to go for that third consecutive title. They've got a good chance of doing it. I think Rovers, we've mentioned, are still leggy, very leggy for that matter. I watched that game against Shells and just don't really think Rovers done an awful lot in the game. Obviously, they had the one that hit the crossbar, but that was really it. You know what I mean? And obviously, Derry, they were poor against. Obviously, I know that was in the cup, but it's still that sort of performance levels that they won't want to be putting out because even UCD there tonight, as you said, Keith, they did look leggy, and if UCD,
UCD did have a chance at the end of that match. I know Aaron Green missed a chance to make it 2-0 right at the end, but there was an opportunity there for UCD in the 93rd minute to equalise. So, the game was never put to bed.
No, it was never put to bed, and if they do that against Sligo, I think Sligo could. You have someone like Keane, and that is just lethal, absolute lethal. In front of goal. So if you can give him a chance, he will score it. He's very good. So you know what? JP put his neck on the line earlier on. I'm going to put my neck on the line here. I'm going to go 1-0 Sligo.
How are you seeing the game, JP? I mean, as we said, Rovers have not looked good in the last few weeks, and not just in a not look good where they're grinding out results necessarily. You could argue the grind out one tonight, but they just don't. They lack any kind of energy. I really believe that in the last couple of weeks. And can they get that back is the question.
It's understandable because of the amount of matches that they've played. They've been playing 3 a week since the start of July, and it's going to go on right to the November. So it's a wee bit understandable, and they're the one team in the league that we thought would be able to cope. But it's only so far that every squad can be stretched, and it looks like now that Shamrock Rovers are being really tested in terms of their depth. Because no doubt they still have the quality there. But whenever you're rotating that team every couple of days, the players that you're bringing in are getting leggy, and the players that they're replacing are getting leggy. And
also, you're not keeping a cohesion by doing that.
No, and they're starting to pick up injuries, niggly injuries,
Yeah.
etc. And they'll probably be glad of, because this is probably going to feel like a break for them now, because they don't have a game now this Saturday. Today's Monday, so they've got a 4 or 5 day. Obviously, they'll be training in between, but you don't be as intense in training as what you would be for a 90-minute match. And I think the performance levels for Rovers in this game all comes down to Friday night's game, to be honest with you. I think if Derry managed to get the win against Pats, it probably makes Rovers try and play with that wee bit more urgency in the game, which could potentially tire them out earlier. Maybe Sligo come into the game, or Sligo could, regardless of the result Friday night, Sligo could just go gung ho and try and kill Rovers off early on, as we say. But at the same time, when you do that, Rovers do have the players to hurt you in attack, no matter how tired they might be. And Sligo have the best striker in the league this season. You touched on it already. He's a top goal scorer, but he's all round play. He brings other players into the game. He holds up the ball well, and he's got a fine finish whenever he's within the 18-yard box.
Power in his shots, hasn't he? Very accurate,
Yeah,
powerful shots.
and he's accurate. And Aidan Keena came to the League Ireland in the start of the season with a reputation of a journeyman, because he'd been around so many clubs in Scotland, and he's really rammed those accusations right down the throat of everybody I called him that. So maybe he's here now to make a name for himself in the League of Ireland, and he's no doubt he's done it this year with Sligo. But as we said, we touched on Sligo, like they're 10 points behind Pats. They're probably not going to get fourth because Pats have that game in hand as well. For them, they're about trying to stay in fifth place now, because it'd be a disaster for them. They've dropped from third to sixth in the space of a season, to be honest. But it's also, can they show a bit of fight between now and the end of the season, and show the likes players transfer targets that they maybe be looking at? Look, we're trying to build something. We fell short this year, but with you, we can maybe bridge that gap again. So there's always that they need to try, and for themselves as well, because they don't want to fall away too far either, because I know they've got the Alexei Aidan Keena still under contract, but they want to show him that they still have that wee bit of ambition to get back to where they were last year. So, again, Heart saying Sligo, Head saying they won't win, but I think Sligo might get a draw out of this, to be honest. I think even with the few days break, it might help Shamrock Rovers, but I think eventually it could, if they don't get a second goal like they didn't tonight, and Aidan Keena on the pitch, I think if you provide him with a chance late on, he's going to take it. So I think Sligo might get something out of this, to be honest. So I'm going to say 1-1, 2-2 draw, something like that.
Do you give a prediction, Luke?
Yeah, 1-0 Sligo.
Ooh, he went for it. I think it'd be a draw. Honestly, I think it'd be a draw as well. So, yeah, we'll leave it there, guys. Brilliant show. Thanks for coming on. Guys at home, please let us know what you think in the comments. Subscribe to the channel and hit your bell notification button. Cheers, lads.
Cheers.
Cheers, Keith.